Welcome. My name is Clark Korb. I'm a holistic health practitioner, and today I'll be following up on the past episode related to being in flow. And building on those basic concepts that we discussed in the prior episode, today's focus is oriented more toward engendering flow in all areas of life beyond the physical body, namely in the mental, creative, material, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our lives. So a quick recap of the basic concepts that I presented in part one. Just describing flow in general is really linked to movement that has continuity to it, that's smooth and steady, it's reliable, it's sustainable, it's passive-ish, really has a quality of effortlessness, and it's often associated with being generative or life-giving or nourishing. It's also associated with abundance and ease, which is a huge piece that we're going to focus more on today. So again, from the past episode, the analogies to water are particularly well aligned in that water cannot be pushed or forced. It can only be allowed or received to flow. It can, however, be shut off by turning off a valve. And it must also be in a supportive environment in order to flow. There must be a path of travel. There must be an appropriate ambient temperature, so not freezing or not evaporating. And it does follow the path of least resistance. Water does not actively push back when encountering resistance. It simply is guided toward the path of least resistance. And I also covered some recommendations for the physical body in the last episode, really with the goal of helping reduce or eliminate internal resistance or blocks. In other words, tuning into your inner physician, listening to your body with increased mindfulness, backing away from struggle and not fighting against yourself. And that mindfulness, I gave some examples extending to eating, how you feed yourself, listening to your body, whether you need physical rest, exercise, recreation, that sort of thing. All of that was helping to eliminate blocks and encouraging flow in your physical body. So at a larger scale, why is encouraging flow important? Ultimately, the end result is allowing more ease and enjoyment, fulfillment, productivity, just everything that's expansive and feels good in life. It just plainly feels good. If you're not feeling in flow in whatever capacity, you're not likely feeling as good as you can be, and you're also not likely feeling as productive as you can be. So how in general if we expand this beyond the physical examples, how in general do you improve flow in your life? And so I'm going to start with some generalities here and then move into some specific examples. So first and foremost, if flow feels good and you're not feeling great or as good as you likely can be, the first important step is to focus simply on feeling better. Set an intention to feel better. And better doesn't necessarily mean exuberant. This is an incremental process, not a quantum leap. Kind of like in a gym, if you've ever done box jumps are great and you can certainly do them, but for most people, most of the time, a ramp is easier. And I'm using this analogy more in the emotional realm of things since we're talking about feeling good. So you want to check in with your basic needs first, kind of like we discussed with the physical aspect of what is your body saying, what is your inner physician saying. Here this is applied also to the mental and emotional. What do I need to feel better now, even just a little bit better? Or more specifically, what do I want in order to feel better now? This is useful to think small and let the momentum build. So use mindfulness practices just as you did from the physical exercises, more in terms of aspects of what will bring a little bit more joy to your life. So step 2, after the intention of wanting to feel better, opening your valve. Just like allowing water to flow requires opening the valve, your internal valve for allowing flow may be either closed or stuck and you're not aware of it. So removing blocks to receiving or allowing flow are important. And in the mental emotional aspects, this is really related to recognizing and discharging any negative emotions or distracting thoughts that you might have. There's a wonderful book, Getting Things Done by David Allen, I've cited before. They have an exercise of doing a mind sweep where you're capturing everything that's in your mind onto paper or into a system. Some people like using journaling, which is a little bit, I think, more of an extended version of that. You can also ground and meditate. I highly recommend that. I did a whole video on grounding I'll link to in the description below. And also, beyond that then, once you're in that clear state, the valve is opened, the third step that's important is to align yourself and your circumstances, your environment, with the desired intention of what you want to flow more in your life. So this is analogous to setting up an aqueduct or a hose or some other structure that would allow water to be guided toward your desired destination. Again, not pushing the water, but you can set an environment that is harmonious with allowing the water to flow where you want it to flow. Energy flows where attention goes, kind of thing. And so this environment can be physical, mental, emotional, or likely a little bit of all of them. And then the fourth big piece of this is focusing on receiving. Once you've set up that guided, allowing structure, if you will, you have to allow yourself to receive the flow. This is really focusing on being in a state of allowing more than just doing, or mindless doing, rather. This is kind of like downloading an application before you begin using it. You have to allow yourself to receive the download before you can make use of the application, right? So in the sense, when you're allowing, it's really almost effortless. The effort, if anything, is putting into setting the intention, getting out of the way of letting what's going to come in, or come through you. This is really that idea of inspiration, literally coming from in spirit. You are allowing yourself to be connected to, working with, allowing movement of spirit through you, mentally, emotionally, physically. This really is opening yourself up to being guided and developing more of your attunement to intuitive messages or nudges that you get. All of these are connected to that inspiration, and this is a precursor of allowing trickles of thought that grow more into flow. And so in the first application from last video, I focused on physical elements that were practical and tangible that you can easily witness and notice your improved flow. Like if you notice how much better you felt listening to your body about what to eat, or how much rest to get, or maybe a different kind of exercise to do, whatever you needed most in a particular time, that's an easier way to see the effects of being mindful. And also, the physical aspect I wanted to cover in that first episode is important, since our bodies are the conduits of our life force energy, so it's an important, essential baseline. So assuming that's taken care of and out of the way, let's talk about a couple examples of generating more flow, moving beyond the physical. In this first case, I'm going to collectively associate the mental and intellectual, as well as the creative and material or financial together, because I think they're often coupled in this process. So an example is, let's say if you're a writer, where most of us have been a writer at some point in our lives, maybe as a student in school, you're feeling short of ideas, you experience writer's block, you're staring at a blank screen. Perhaps if you're an artist painting on a canvas, or a musician looking to write something, you're staring at a blank page, a blank staff, and wondering, what do I put down next? You're not seeing options. You're feeling a loss of creativity. You're disconnected from what you would consider the muse. If you're in a technically involved process or a business process and you're looking to solve a problem, you're not feeling productive. You're not feeling like a solution is coming to you as easily as perhaps it could. Sometimes this shows up as an urge to procrastinate. From a financial perspective, maybe you're trying to build a business or launch a project and you feel completely disconnected from resources, whether it's straight cash, not having the cash to fund something, or knowing the right people to help you with certain guidance, or staff to help you get a project or something launched off the ground. In all of these cases, you're feeling disconnected, I think is a general sense for that. You may feel a lack of appreciation for the resources that you have at hand. Often that idea of being stuck is not recognizing what you have available to you. So the converse of that, when you're in flow, I'm pretty sure all of us have felt this way at one point or another, it's being in the zone. This is really being inspired. This is where ideas come freely. Your imagination is sparked. Resources, people, money, help of any kind tend to flow into your life without any undue effort on your behalf. So how do you actually encourage this flow, assuming you can't force it, just like water? Step number one, focus on the intention to feel better. Baby steps, small steps of feeling better, not going from depressed to exuberant, just a little better. So open your valve, grounding yourself, meditating, quieting your mind is a great place to start. If you're in a creative or having an intellectual block, doing a mind sweep or a dump of those distracting thoughts is particularly helpful. Write them down so that you satisfy that part of yourself that wants to make sure you've at least captured and can come back to the things that are troubling you at a later time. And then surrounding yourself with like energy of what it is that you want to create, or whatever has an affinity toward helping you raise your vibration to an inspired state. So if you're trying to create music, listen to music that inspires you, or sometimes a cross-training kind of thing is useful. Maybe reading a book that inspires you, or looking at visual art that inspires you. If you're working on a business or a technical problem, take in positive information from books or podcasts that are inspiring to you, where people have solved problems before. The whole point of this is to set an environment of and looking for examples of where other people have tapped into this flow to be creative, to solve problems, to build something where you currently feel stuck. It helps you mentally, it kind of bypasses the mental circuitry of, gosh, I have to come up with the right words or the right melody or the right chord structure or the right painting or the right business plan or whatever it is, getting that your mind focused off of that and onto more of an emotionally attuned state of what it's like to be or associate or listen to or connect to people who have already done those things, people who have generated and created and developed the kinds of things that you want to create, build, or solve. Okay, so once you've aligned yourself in that environment and you've set up this place to encourage the muse, so to speak, then focus on receiving. This is an active receiving in this sense. So have tools ready nearby to capture whatever comes to you, whether it's a notebook, if you like handwriting. I'm personally, most of the time, prefer an electronic capture mechanism. Having a computer, a phone, a tablet, or even a voice recorder. Phones are great voice recorders, especially these days, since they can transcribe what you're recording. The point is, whatever is easy for you to capture what you get. And acknowledge the trickle that comes to you. It's super important to recognize, not only in this receiving of ideas, but in general when you're conducting your business or you're building your career, planting seeds and not cursing the sprouts that show up. There was a personal development speaker, Danny Johnson, that I listened to years ago that offered this great analogy of if you plant seeds and a couple of weeks later you see a couple of sprouts grow and you begin getting angry about why haven't these seeds turned into full-grown plants, you're really killing the process of what is allowing flow. So along this regard, I encourage celebrating milestones, no matter how small. And you don't have to do a big, elaborate celebration, but what matters is that you emotionally acknowledge receiving inspiration, receiving whether it's new business, material wealth, whatever it is, set up little basic milestones. The very first time you get it, even if it's an anomaly, the first time it happens, acknowledge it, celebrate it. Having this acknowledgement is similar to if you were playing sports and the first time that you made a free throw, your coach said, yeah, that's all right, that's more of that. Or if you were training someone how to hit a ball, the first time they connected the bat with the ball, oh, that feels great. Notice how it feels in your body, that satisfaction of connecting with the ball. And a good coach will encourage that, say, yes, more like that next time. Same applies in your business. The first time you hit a financial goal, even if it's an anomalous, let's say, month, and you bring in an amount that you've been wanting to average, but the very first time you hit it, or the first time your bank account reaches this amount, even if you have expenses that are going to come up and deplete it. I've before done things where I take a screenshot of that one day where I first hit that milestone. I'll go, yes, that's it, more like it. I expect this to happen more regularly. So this celebrating milestones is super, super important for your subconscious and for your emotional state. It requires regular daily practice, just like anything else. So beyond the intellectual and material and financial or sort of business sides of things, we can also be blocked in flow emotionally, socially, or spiritually. I'm kind of grouping those together here. So what does that feel like? Often this can leave us feeling low on energy. We might be fatigued or not at ease. We might feel isolated from others, from the world in general. We might feel stuck or helpless. This can be a state where people move into overwhelm or burnout, whether it's socially or with their career or whatnot. It may have nothing to do with their actual career. They just feel burned out because they're depleted in this sense. It can feel like being disconnected from other people in your community or your spiritual source. Sometimes this manifests as being angry, where people have this confrontational kind of chip on their shoulder and they want to butt heads with other people. They feel like everything must be a battle. It can also manifest in a way where a person feels unclear on your personal or spiritual path. The questions like, why am I here? What's my purpose? Why am I here in this job? Am I really intended to be having this role in life? Those sorts of things where you're questioning yourself. Questions aren't bad, but if you're looping on that, it tends to have the quality of being stuck. In the emotional and spiritual aspects, when you're in flow, you have this feeling of peace. You have a feeling of being on purpose. Relationships are in harmony, especially that relationship with yourself. Qualities of abundance are present in all ways. Joy, laughter, fun come easily. You notice yourself being able to appreciate authentically yourself, other people, things that go on in life. There's also this quality of unconditionality, where love is given freely. You tend to notice in others and also espouse for yourself a generosity of spirit, generosity of actions, random acts of kindness. And these actions are truly non-transactional, no strings attached. It's just giving from abundance, not because you need to feel loved or appreciated, but it's truly coming from a centered, abundant place. You also tend to honor others' paths without judgment. So how do we encourage flow if we're a little bit stuck in the emotional, spiritual allowance of flow? Step 1, again, focus on the intention to feel better, baby steps. Step 2 would be opening the valve. Once again, grounding and meditation are a great place to come back to your emotional center. And for this tool, I find particularly what may be of help is a banishment journal. And this was an exercise given to me by one of my great mentors who had recommended writing down every single negative thing in a journal. The idea with this is that write everything down, capture every little bit of what is stirring up for you emotionally that feels negatively charged. Write it in a journal, tear the pages out, and then set the pages on fire in a safe place like a grill or something like that. And it's enormously freeing, I found. It's something where you're literally sublimating, where you're taking something negative in the physically manifested form, this journal of anguish and pain or whatever it is, and anger, and you're transmuting it into a different physical state. You're really letting it go. So once you have that valve open, you're ready to receive. Align yourself in a way where you want to receive something that feels positive and supportive. So whether that's reconnecting socially with supportive people, maybe you need to build a new network of people or mentors who have beliefs aligned with what you want that may be different from your typical friend group. Something to be mindful about. Doesn't mean your friends may not be supportive, but they may not be supportive in the way that you're looking to have support in this new realm of abundant thinking, abundant allowing, abundant being worthy of feeling joy. And then focusing on receiving. So in this case, in this emotional, spiritual aspect, this is really leaning into that muscle building of appreciation, appreciating events that happen, appreciating other people. Wayne Dyer had noted even observing acts of kindness conducted between other people affect your own physiological and psychological state, just being an observance of that. So acknowledging positive relationships, looking for excuses to say, I really love how you relate with your spouse in this way, whether or not you have a partner or not. You're acknowledging that positivity, that love, that positive action, whatever it is that you want to pull into your life when you acknowledge that in other people. It's really a practice for holding space for positive expectation. So again, this use of the word expectation doesn't apply to I expect someone else to behave in a certain way for me to be happy, but it's really fostering an allowance for serendipity to enter your life. I love the author Esther Hicks that she has this idea of things that are always working out for me, almost as a mantra that she practices, like a parking space that shows up just when you need it, that sort of thing. This practice of appreciation I've personally found really helps you apply to all areas of life, moving you into a state of greater allowance, greater flow, more lightness, more inspiration to feel everything that you do throughout the day. Tell me, what are your favorite ways of getting into flow? Certainly let me know in the comments below and whether any of this resonates with you. And if you know of anyone who may benefit from what I've shared here today, please forward this video to them. Also, if you found some value in what I've discussed today, I would certainly appreciate your giving this video a like and clicking on the subscribe button with notifications set to all in order to avoid missing future posts. These little actions take only moments to do. They cost nothing, but they really help support the growth of the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in.